2024 season with a victory as they defeat the Arizona Cardinals 34-28. Welcome into Bills Postgame Live alongside of Wall of Famer Steve Tasker. I'm Maddy Glab, and Steve, this game was really a tale of two halves. In the first half, the Bills were down by 14 points. They come into the locker room in the second half and had the lead for most of the second half. The game did come down to the final drive as the Cardinals had a chance to tie things up and possibly beat the Bills. What was your biggest takeaway when it comes to the difference in the first half to the second half?
Well, the first half, the turnover early put the Bills back by 2 scores, and the Arizona Cardinals were able to get 2 scores, a touchdown and a field goal to go up by 10. The Bills did answer with a field goal, but the Arizona Cardinals came right back down. The defense of the Buffalo Bills, we knew it was going to be a learning process, but they came back. Finally, in the second half, they started to do some things. Certainly the turnovers with a sack strip fumble, and Greg Rousseau with, 3 sacks on the day and a sack strip fumble. It was a turning point. The Bills, what did strike me is the Bills' offense, with Josh, seems to be good enough to overcome not only a poor day by the defense, but also the special teams, giving up a touchdown return on the kickoff. To have an offense that's good enough to do that and a team that's able to bounce back after struggling as badly as they did with penalties, with the turnover, and with their defense struggling to find its way, to pull a game like this out is pretty special, and it doesn't happen all that often.
Bills quarterback Josh Allen finished with 4 touchdowns on the day, 2 on the ground and 2 in the air. Greg Rousseau, 3 sacks, including one of those for a strip fumble that the Bills were able to recover. It's the first time a Bills player has had 3 sacks in a home opener, in a season opener, since 1983 when Ben Williams did it. Greg Rousseau and Von Miller are on the podium right now, so let's get right over to them.
Yeah, we felt, I think we just had to get adjusted. You know, we always felt confident in our pass rush. First game of the season, you know, there's a lot of things that you got to adjust to. You know, a lot of things that you don't see, but we adjusted well. We knew we would be able to get past, we knew we would be able to, you know, get the pass rush started. All we had to do was tighten up in the run, and, you know, we made some adjustments. They ran the ball pretty well first half. You know, we just had to make some adjustments to get our stuff going.
Greg, big performance from you. What allowed you to explode out of the gate like you did today?
Man, just being out there with 10 other dogs every single play and having that 4-1 mindset on rushing up front, knowing if I don't get it, somebody else is getting it. You know what I'm saying? We all just got that same just dog mindset, and just when we had our chances, when the game was kind of declared and one-dimensional, we took advantage of it.
Seems like you made all your plays were game-changing plays. The strip sack, the sack on 3rd down. What's it feel to impact the game the way you did today?
Man, it's a blessing, and I'm just happy to be out there with the guys that I'm out there with, because that's what it's all about. You know what I'm saying? One day might be me, the next second it's somebody else making a play. So we're just feeding off each other's energy. It's just a blessing to be out there. Just grateful for the opportunity.
Well, you've talked a lot about wanting to, get back in the sack column. How did that feel after so much work?
You know, it felt good. I mean, you think about it for so long. Like, you think about it all last year. Then when you get hurt, like, you know what? Can't wait to get a sack. Can't wait to get a sack. And then when you get the sack, it's just business as usual. It's like you act like you've been there before. But I'm not gonna lie, it definitely felt good. You know, after the type of season that I went through and the type of season that we all went through last year, to come in here and get multiple sacks and really just do what we do and go out there and showcase everything that we've been working on throughout the off season. It's definitely it definitely feels good 100%.
Greg, on the play where
Presented by Microsoft Surface. Microsoft Surface is the official tablet and sideline technology of the Buffalo Bills, and we have to spotlight Greg Rousseau, the defensive end, for what he did today against the Arizona Cardinals. 3 sacks by Greg Rousseau. One of those was a strip sack that the Bills were able to recover thanks to Dorian Williams. Why was Greg Rousseau able to get so much pressure, Steve, when in the beginning of the game, the defensive line was having a tough time pressuring Kyler Murray? What changed for Greg Rousseau at some point in this
Interestingly
game?
enough, I think it was their ability to stop the run on 1st and 2nd down. They got him into more obvious passing downs, and when Rousseau had a chance to use his pass rush ability instead of rushing the passer after a running play or a play action, that made all the difference in the world. His ability to push a guy and use his leverage and strong arm a player, and then also we've seen him at 6'7" get slippery and use speed as well as power. So when the offensive lineman kind of anchors ready to take his first initial power rush and he anchors. Greg has the speed to get around him, and the guy can't recover fast enough. It's those kind of rushing techniques not everybody can do, but Greg Rousseau did it to perfection today.
Greg Rousseau headed into this season wanting to be a different player, wanting to play at a higher level. Defensive coordinator Bobby Babich talked to us about it throughout the offseason, and we're already seeing that from Rousseau in the first game in the 2024 season kickoff home opener for Buffalo. So great to see him get 3 in the sack column. Von Miller also adding 1 as well. Quarterback 1, Josh Allen, is at the podium after a big day, going 18 of 23, completing 78% of his passes. That is insane, finishing with a 137 passer rating. Let's hear from Josh about this big win.
How's the hand? Get that one out of it.
It's fine.
Any x-rays on that? Or,
Well, probably, yeah. Don't know yet.
down 14 points. What was sort of the key offensively end of the first half?
Well, the key was double dipping, was being able to get the ball in the second half. You know, we're a team that defers. They elected to receive and gave us an opportunity to score in 2 minutes, come back, get the ball, and score again and steal possession. And, you know, had a good halftime, talked to the guys, and just figured out, you know, what we're going to do, and guys went out there and executed.
You had the pass downfield to Keon. How much do you sort of trust him already in those really contested jumps?
Yeah, I mean, he went up, made a play. I feel like I could have thrown a touchdown earlier in the game to him on a little post route at the goal line. Elected to run, but after looking at that, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to trust the kid and let him do what he does, and made a great play there.
You guys, you're down 14 early, things weren't going well. But is this kind of a testament to been there, done that for you guys?
For sure, and I think you look at us offensively, you know, they did a good job of holding on to the football and running the ball well and kind of controlling the game. You know, we felt like we barely touched the ball, but we felt like we were constantly in the green. We were ahead of the sticks. We've got the one fumble by me that can't happen. And then we got a few penalties that pushed us back there. So need to clean those things up. But, you know, we felt like we were rolling pretty well on offense.
9 different players had a reception in this one all preseason. You've talked about just whatever. Guys are going to make plays. It doesn't matter who it is. To see it actually come to fruition in a regular season game, how validating is that?
Oh, it's great. You know, everybody's going to find a way to get their touches. And, again, I don't know what the stats were and who caught how many and how many completions I had, but it felt like every time I looked up, it was somebody new finding a way to get open and catch the ball. And I thought Joe did a great job of calling the game. You know, obviously want to get some guys more touches to get them going, but it's hard to argue with the results that we've got right now.
Khalil found the end zone today. His ability to maintain his balance through contact seems just incredible. From your perspective, what allows him to maintain his balance in those situations where he's bumped around?
Yeah, it's his ability to drop and sink his hips. His balance control is pretty off the charts. He finds ways to kind of bounce off of guys. You know, and he did a great job on that one. He, you know, throughout the game, finding ways to get open, catching, you know, hard catches, making contested catches, and then, again, run after catch, being tough with the football in his hands, and it was good to see.
Josh, can you give your description of your airborne touchdown, just from your perspective?
Oh, yeah. Just kind of, again, split-second situations. The first rushing touchdown, I kind of lowered the shoulder, knowing that was a corner. The second time, I know it was Buddha, and Buddha's he's a good player, and he'll lay the boom on you, so I decided to go up and over, but, you know, probably can't make a living doing that, but here we are.
What did you see on the Hollins touchdown? The midpoints?
Yeah, they went 0. We had an alert along with the play, so it was a good call by Joe and found a way to alert it. We've repped that play quite a bit of times, you know, and the job there is get inside and you know, give them a catchable ball, and Mac did a great job of doing that and scoring a touchdown.
Josh, what does starting with a win do for a team?
I mean, it just puts you in front of the chains. It really does. You know, losing and playing catch-up's no fun. So, again, 1-0 is what we're trying to do each week. And, you know, we got a short week going to a division rival in Miami, you know, and got to have a quick turnaround, watch the film on this one, and find a way to turn the page tomorrow and start getting ready for them.
33 carries overall for the offense. I know that traditionally has not been the way this offense. What does that do for you as a quarterback when you guys are that efficient running the ball?
Yeah, I mean, again, staying in front of the chains, when we can run the ball like that, we're going to find success because it helps play action. It helps our O-line not just sit and pass set in a game. and allows us to do different things and have different personnel and force their hand, whether they want to play base or nickel, to some of our personnels. And, we can still feel like we still feel like we can pass out of those personnels, even having guys like Reggie Q and Alec, for that matter, being our jumbo tight end. But again, it just keeps defenses on their toes and allows us to be two-dimensional.
What is the message when it's 17-3? I know you guys probably are, stay patient, we can turn this around, but is it as simple as that? Because,
It's just don't blink. Been here before. Again, we knew that we were getting the ball at halftime. So we get the ball, find a way to score points before and after the half. And, Coach McDermott preaches that all the time, and that's good situational football by our guys. They're pretty disappointing. It really wasn't anything that we were doing. It should have been, those should have been cleaned up, and we'll look forward to cleaning those up.
Josh, you've been in that position several times during your career. How important is it to score before halftime when you're getting the ball back after the half?
It's huge. It's huge. It's still in a possession. Keeps your defense fresh. And offensively, if you find something, you score, you keep that momentum going, you get the ball, and you go score again. That's really huge and really affected the outcome of the game today.
Josh, what happened to your hand exactly, if you could tell us? And when the adrenaline wears off, is there any concern that this could be something that gives you trouble on a short week?
Again, we'll find out. I'm not quite sure. I'm not a doctor, but just kind of landed on it. Thank you, guys.
All right, that's something we'll have to evaluate this week, that wrist for Josh that he had taped up toward the end of the game. The Bills are on a short week this week as they'll face the Miami Dolphins on Thursday night. But I want to get into what this offense looked like, because it was Joe Brady's first game calling the plays as the official offensive coordinator for the Bills. We know that he finished the season last year calling plays for Buffalo, going 6-1 in those games. And when you look at run versus pass, the Bills ran the ball more than they passed the ball under Joe Brady in those 7 games that he was Buffalo's offensive coordinator. And today they had 33 rushing attempts compared to 23 passing attempts. So Steve, when you look at how the game was played, how Joe Brady called it, how do you kind of get into play calling and just your thoughts on his first game as Buffalo's offensive coordinator and the run versus pass options?
Yeah, it's hard to generalize because it's one game, and you're playing the Arizona Cardinals. 2 of their best pass rushers were not in the game. You felt like, okay, let's see if they're a front line, we'll hold up against the Bills. And plus, you can have the luxury of us looking back at the finished product. They scored 34 points. You should win. You should win scoring 34 points. They gave up, they had a turnover, a sack fumble when they were in scoring opportunities and scoring position, and also gave up a special teams touchdown. All that's huge, and your offense was able to overcome it with 34 points, even running the ball significantly more than they threw it. That says a lot about your personnel. I think it's a strong statement about winning up front and having the freedom and the courage to say, listen, we're going to run it whether we're running it or not, and be successful doing it. I really liked what I saw from the Bills' offense. I really did. Even in the first half when they were struggling to get it going, the penalties hurt them and the turnover killed them. It was you couldn't have had a slower start.
Yeah, the Bills finished the game with 9 penalties, and their first time that they had the football after the Arizona Cardinals scored on their first drive of the game, the Bills fumbled and they gave it right back to the Cardinals. And the Cardinals scored a field goal off of that fumble. So it was a slow start for Buffalo, but for them to be able to kind of course correct and get into putting touchdowns on the scoreboard, Josh Allen talked about it, double dipping, scoring a touchdown right before the end of the first half and scoring a touchdown coming out of the locker room heading into the second half, I think does wonders for a team when you talk about the vibe and how things change. And it's then on the Bills to keep it going, because then at that point they tied the game up 17-17.
Yeah, and tip of the hat to Bob Babbage. Certainly it's one game, but going into halftime, if the Bills' offense doesn't score that touchdown, it looks bad. But now it's 17-10. You feel like, okay, at least we're within a possession. They come out and score again right out of halftime. And Bob Babbage, with some adjustments, holds the Cardinals again, and the Bills go in and put another one. So they end up scoring 21 unanswered in the middle of this game, which was the entire difference of the football game. So tip of the cap to the defensive staff for getting it straightened out, getting a stop, And while their offense was really humming along, giving them the ball back, obviously double dipping, getting two almost back-to-back. Not technically back-to-back because Kyler Murray did kneel down at the end of the first half with 11 seconds to go after a great kick cover job by the Bills when the Cardinals couldn't get a handle on the kickoff, went ahead and kept it, got inside the 5, kneeled down, get out of the half. That counts as a possession. So in that technicality,
Right.
the 2 possessions they got was huge. But the adjustments, something happened at halftime for the Bills defense that gave them a chance to get their head above water against the Cardinal offense, and it worked out throughout the second half.
The Bills get a lead, the pass rush also starts to work a little bit. You're working with a lead. Things change on the defensive line when you have a lead. You can pin your ears back a little bit more and go after a quarterback who's mobile like Kyler Murray, and that's what they did in the second half. 9 different players caught the ball today. The offense's mantra this season is everybody eats, and that's what it looked like out there today. One of the guys who caught a pass and had a touchdown is Khalil Shakir. He's on the podium right now. Let's go right over to him.
I think it's just a belief that we all have in each other. Everybody, looking each other in the eyes and saying, put one foot in front of the other, take it one play at a time, and let's keep going. We know what we're capable of doing when we're all on the same track. And just the communication piece, we know the preparation we put in, so it was just communicating with each other to, get things going. Yeah, a little screen. I don't know if you guys saw Deion's block, but I'm like right behind him, just following him. He just lays some dude out, and as I'm running, it's like so hard when somebody makes a play like that. Like it's like, oh my goodness, but I realize I'm carrying the ball. I got to get in the end zone, So great blocks by him, great blocks by everybody all around on that play. I know Mac was in the 3 spot and came out and picked up a big block as well. So that's just team football.
From your own perspective, how were you able to stay up for that last little bit?
I don't know. In those moments you kind of just black out and fall on the preparation throughout the week. We run those plays a lot, and for me it was just I knew it was right there, and just did my best to push through and get in the end zone.
Contact balance seems to be just exceptional. You're bouncing off defenders all game long today. Similar to Catherine's question, what allows you to maintain your balance through contact so often?
That's a great question. I think for me, when the ball's in my hands, I think that's my game right there. The quick game and getting the ball in my hands and making something happen. Just reacting when the ball's in my hands. Guys flying all over the place. You're seeing white jerseys out there, and it's just at the end of the day, I want to make that play for my teammates. I want to make sure that when the ball's in my hands, that I do something for them. Everything I do is for them. The preparation throughout the week is put in the work, is put in the blood, sweat, and tears, is put in with them. So just doing everything for those guys.
What did you see? Go ahead.
We've asked you kind of all summer about the offense, what it's going to look like. We kept hearing this thing, everybody eats. Is that what everybody eats is?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I think that you got a little bit of a glance of it today. Different guys making huge plays, showing up big time and in big time moments throughout the game. And I guess that's a glimpse at what it means everybody eats.
Just to follow up on that, what did you learn about the receiving corps today now that you got to see who was actually in the game?
Yeah, I think it's any one of us can make a play at any given time. Everybody kind of had their bit in showcasing what we can do as a wide receiver room. You got Mac making plays with the touchdown, a couple catches, Curtis doing his thing. But I think the big thing is, we realize that not every wide receiver can have, 200 yards a game, right? But as well as everybody else showing up in the run game as well. Wideouts doing their thing in the run game, contributing to the play to the best of our ability, even when the ball's not coming our way. And that's what that room is about, is making sure that, when the ball's not in our hands, getting around the ball to help out however we can.
I know you might have been asked this, but on the screen pass touchdown, they sent blitz.
Yeah.
So it was just 3-on-3 there. I mean, do you see that as a play before you get the ball that you could?
Yeah. I mean, for that play, when the ball's in my hands, I'm supposed to make a play, but I know the O-line is coming out to make a couple blocks, and I mentioned Deion Dawkins coming out and making a crazy block. So if you haven't seen that, I'd definitely go watch that back, because he made that play right there. Mac as well made a huge block on that. But that's just everybody doing their 111th and me just following those guys in there.
What was your vantage point of the Josh Hurdle touchdown?
I seen it. I think I was on the left side. I don't even know if I was on the field, but I was just screaming. Like, just, I mean, when you see him do things like that, I mean, he's a true leader, true competitor, true warrior. He's making plays like that, and it's pushing everybody else to be their best as well. Serious love for that guy and everything he does, not only in his preparation, but just him as a guy as well. Man, he's a great dude. Would follow that guy in the battle any day.
What about Keon's catch on the sideline? He's been doing it all training camp.
Amazing. I was screaming as well on that one too. You never really know how it's going to go. First regular season game for rookies, and he did his thing. And I was telling him before the game, like, just be you, Key. That's all we need. Be you. Joe Brady has his thing is be you with us, and that's exactly what he did tonight. Showed that he's a competitor, he's a playmaker, and he's going to continue to do so.
Game where they're controlling the time of possession. You guys, I think, had 3 possessions in the first half. What are the challenges? What are the things you do to try to get yourself engaged in the game and in rhythm when you have the ball for such a small amount of time? Yeah,
I mean, obviously. That the slow start and all those things is I think what you're referring to, and it's just staying warm on the sidelines, watching the defense do their thing, cheering the defense on the sideline, watching those guys make plays, and whatever it is for any individual to stay warm, to get out there when we have the ball to be able to play fast. However long we have the ball, or we're not on the field for, whether it's however long it is. Just making sure that we're ready when the time comes for us to go out there and do our thing.
Appreciate y'all.
You have a good night.
All right, that was Khalil Shakir. He's the only receiver left on this roster that caught a pass from Josh Allen last season, and it was good to see him in the groove of things, getting going. He is such an important piece of this offense and will continue to be throughout the season, but he's not the only guy. We also saw a couple rookies out there today, Steve. Keon Coleman and Ray Davis. Coleman led receivers with 4 catches for 51 receiving yards. Ray Davis had 3 attempts for 13 rushing yards. He also caught a pass from Josh Allen, 1 for 14 receiving yards. What did you take away from watching those rookies out there today? We always wonder, are the rookies going to get deployed in the first game? What is it going to look like? Are they going to get held back until they feel really comfortable within the offense? But they got let go, and they were out there in the first week making plays.
Yeah, Keon Coleman led the team with 4 receptions, 51 yards. 9 guys caught a pass today. With 5 incompletions, just a handful of incompletions. Josh had a 137 quarterback rating. Everybody looked like they were going to get a chance to do this. We thought, I've been saying along the entire preseason, Maddy, I think this team was really going to be hard to get off the field in 3rd down. And they came out and were just that. They were hard to get off the field offensively. And first downs, they were,
they had 23
first downs. They had 23 first downs.
They only had 9 third down attempts. They were 3 of 9 when it comes to third downs.
They're really hard to get off the field. They were really efficient on offense. Once they got through all the penalties, once they got through the 1 turnover that they had, man, they were really, really effective. Everybody helped out. You had some great superlative plays. The touchdown we've seen like 5 times from Shakir when he reached the ball back over his head for the touchdown. That's exactly the kind of thing he does. His contact balance and his ability to stay on his feet and get every yard he can get is really beneficial to a team for staying on the field and staying efficient, just like this. It's hard to get this team off the field, and therefore it's hard to keep them out of the end zone.
Yeah, Josh Allen talked about Khalil Shakir and that contact balance. He said it's because he can drop his hips, he can sink low when contact is coming, and so he's harder to knock off. So that's why he can bounce off a defender and spin around and grab a couple more yards. That's why we saw him do some acrobatic move where he basically did a back bend into the end zone to score for the Bills. And it wasn't just Khalil Shakir who did that. I mean, Josh Allen trucked a defender, leapt over one to get into the end zone. He dragged 2 defenders into the end zone for his first rushing touchdown, and his second one leapt over one for a rushing touchdown. Again, this offense runs through Josh Allen. There were so many question marks about what this offense would look like, and we saw so many people get involved. Like you said, 9 different players caught a ball from Allen, but this is an offense that runs through Josh. It was his 4th career game where he's had at least 2 passing touchdowns and 2 rushing touchdowns in a single game. That ties Steve Young for the most all time. We're in week 1, and we're seeing our quarterback do epic things yet again.
Week 1 of his, 7th year?
Yeah.
And here's some too. They even this offense is so efficient, and it looks to be that there's even a hole in their statistics where they weren't very good in that exact area. They were only 3 of 9 on 3rd down.
Something you
but
can
they
work
did
on.
go for it twice on 4th and got both of them. Just with Josh's ability to get those hard yards where he can drop back. We heard Ross Tucker and Tom McCarthy on the broadcast for CBS. When the Arizona Cardinals had a short yardage situation, they did not put the ball in Kyler's hands. They put it in Connor's hands. They ran the football. All the defense had to do was react, stop that run, and that was it. With Josh, he drops back, and they've got to defend the receivers and then defend Josh as well, running the football. So they couldn't do it. It's just his ability to get to the corner here and jump over later in the game just changes the entire dynamics of this offense and how effective they are.
They picked their spots with the run game too. They folded that into the passing game nicely. James Cook finishes with 71 rushing yards. He averaged 3.7 yards per carry. Not a huge number, but it was efficient and helped move the ball down the field. His longest run of the day was 15 yards. Ray Davis also had a 13-yard run play too. So that's what you're going to need. You're going to need it from both sides of the offense. You're going to need it from the run game. You're also going to need it from Josh Allen and spreading the ball out to his wide receivers.
As tough as it was for the Bills' defense, the Cardinals averaged 4.5 yards per play offensively. The Bills were up over 6 yards, 6.1. The Bills were really clipping along. And they also got those 3rd down conversions when they really needed it. There was a third and long they were converted with the play we just saw to James Cook where Josh was outside the pocket. It looked like that drive was going to stall and deep, just into their territory and not yet into the other side of the field. And Josh rolls out. James Cook makes himself available. It turns into a big play. I just can't say enough about the fact that everybody had a chance to contribute. The offensive line looked like a really, really dominant group. They did struggle with penalties. The false starts.
Several false starts.
Osiris Torrance had a couple of rough penalties, a holding and also and an illegal face mask or hands to the face, a personal foul. I was losing my mind on the Kyler Murray roughing the passer in the first series. Not only did he not get hit, the guy who called it didn't have the right angle. Nobody else on the officiating crew corrected him, said, hey, no, you missed it. He didn't. And the eye in the sky didn't chime in and say, hey, you should really pick that up. They messed that up like 3 times, 3 different ways on the same play, 3 different opportunities they had to get it right. They didn't take advantage of any single one of those. And it goes down and keeps a drive that would have stalled, keeps it completely alive when, Ingram goes right over the top, never hits him. And then later on, the same thing happens to Josh. When it was a penalty, as innocuous as the hit was, it should have been a penalty. Yeah, that's when you can overcome that, it's a big thing. And the Bills did a nice job of that, no question about it. They made some of their own issues in this game, which, as we've seen, that's the way you got to beat this team. But they overcame it early, they leveled off later in the game. The entire second half was much, much cleaner than the first half, and it showed in their production.
The Bills got called for 9 penalties, while the Cardinals got called for 5 penalties. Let's flip things over to the defense, talk about them a little bit. We'll kick that off with Terrell Bernard, who was on the podium just moments ago.
When they scored on their first 3 possessions, what was going on in the defense? After the third one, especially, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think just settling in. The first game is always a little wild. You don't really know what to expect coming out. We hadn't played a real football game in a little while, but definitely some things that we adjusted on the sideline and came back and tried to correct some things, get a little bit more pressure, stay in coverage a little bit more, keep him in the pocket, and eventually I think once we got closer to the second quarter, into the second quarter, and into the second half. I think we made some adjustments, and we ended up getting the win. So that's what we look forward to.
Because of the kickoff return and then having to settle for the field goal there, you guys had to go out twice. Really, you had to close the game out twice, and you did. So what were some of the keys to getting that done after it had been kind of a struggle?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we had talked about earlier. I think just affecting the quarterback and, speeding up his clock a little bit, changing some things in the back end to adjust our coverages and, how we were playing them, not giving them as much time to sit back there and, kind of dunk it down and pick us apart a little bit. So, we made the adjustments and, like you said, we came out and we closed it twice.
What did Josh do for the defense today?
He did a lot. I mean, he scored touchdowns in the red zone. He extended drives, made huge plays, and that's what we've come to expect from Josh. He kept us off the field a lot after we had been on for a number of plays. So we appreciate him, and he's the guy that runs this thing.
How big was what you got from Rousseau today for the defense?
Yeah, it was huge. The turnover, sack fumble that he had. And then I think he had 2 other sacks in big situations. Greg's been a guy that's gotten better every single day throughout training camp, throughout this offseason. And, week 1 coming out and doing that and changing the game, that's Greg.
Terrell, how important those first couple of games is it for a defender like yourself to look at your keys, where the guards are going? How important is it those first couple of games because you don't have as much film on the opposing team?
Yeah, it's really important. I think the main thing is just getting back to our fundamentals. You go a long time without playing a game, and you kind of come out here and go at it. And we knew what to expect. They have a really good scheme. They got really good players, and we had to settle down a little bit there in the first half. But we ended up with the win. Made some adjustments at halftime, and were able to walk away with a win.
Terrell's a tough guy to replace, but the trust level with Cam seems like it's pretty high. What gives you that trust in him when he comes into the lineup?
Yeah, definitely tough to try to replace Taryn. We don't really know what's going on right now, but when Cam comes in, he's a guy that can do everything too. He's physical, he's smart, he can blitz, he's obviously good in coverage, and then he made a lot of plays in the run game today, and that's what we're going to need from him. And it was good to see him out there, flying around, making plays, getting big stops. So. We'll get to work and build our connection and our chemistry going into week 2.
What was Bobby's message to you guys at halftime? Because obviously the first half didn't go probably the way that he envisioned it.
Yeah, I think the main thing was just settle down. We came out and there were some things going on. Quarterback got out of the pocket a little bit. They hit some runs on us. They made some plays, and I think our whole thing was just to calm down, get into the groove of the game, understand what they're trying to do, and then go out there and play how we know how to play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terrell.
That was middle linebacker Terrell Bernard, and the Bills defense allowed 190 total yards in the first half. In the second half, they allowed just 80 total yards. The Cardinals finished the day with 270. So a big adjustment was made by the defense from the first half compared to the second half. Terrell Bernard said Bobby Babich, our defensive coordinator, just told us to settle down. Not the easiest thing to do when week 1 you're going into a game without Matt Milano, who tore his bicep earlier in training camp, and then one of your other important defensive players in cornerback, nickel cornerback, Taron Johnson comes off the field with a forearm injury. He was questionable, later ruled out for the entire game, so Cam Lewis steps up in his place. How did you see this defense settle into things in the second half with those changes that were made as well?
Yeah, I thought Babich and the defensive staff did a nice job juggling not only the personnel, but also finding a way to get pressure on Kyler Murray. One of the things they did, a lot of teams will rush, as we saw in the first half, rush 4, keep them straight ahead, try and get them to just collapse the pocket from outside in, nobody Xing or opening up gaps for him to run through. If he was going to escape pressure, they were going to put him outside the pocket. He was going to have to escape outside. In the second half, they started bringing extra people, particularly on crucial downs. When they started doing that, he started running out of space really fast. And by keeping contained as well, then he started getting sacked. He ended up with 4 sacks on the day, 3 from Rousseau, 1 from Von Miller. Von made a great pass rush on his. It was strictly a power move, got straight in on him, and when he stepped up in the pocket, Vaughn came off and made the tackle. Really good job up front. So I think their ability to adapt how they wanted to affect Kyler, the plan they had to affect him changed during the game, and they were able to execute it even though it was their plan B.
Yeah, definitely. You could see the difference from the first half to the second half with how they were able to put some pressure on the pocket, put some pressure on Kyler Murray, getting some of those sacks. I want to ask you about Dorian Williams, who had a big day starting in place of Matt Milano. Matt Milano would have been the starting will linebacker in this game, but since he's out for a good amount of time, we're not sure how long, Dorian Williams steps up in his place. What did you see out of the young linebacker who's now in his second year playing for Buffalo?
Well, 5 total tackles. He had 8 combined tackles, 12, combined tackles, or 8 combined tackles. Assisted on 3, 5 unassisted. I thought his ability to run around was good. He covers a lot of ground, as we knew. Early on in this game, not just Dorian, but also Bernard, Darren, they all struggled to get the guy on the ground. And so did Arizona, because none of these guys have tackled anybody for real.
A lot of the starters didn't play a lot of snaps
because they didn't play in the preseason. And you kind of get reminded of this phenomenon every single opening day, and maybe for the first 2 or 3 weeks of the season, that they got to learn how to do it again. Plus, as we saw too, when Josh broke out of contain, they tackled him. Josh got him, said that was a hip drop.
A hip drop.
One of the elements that was supposed to be there for a hip drop wasn't there. The officials didn't call it, and we moved on. But the defenders have to learn that kind of stuff, and they have to think about it while they're trying to tackle people. I thought the defenders on both sides of the ball struggled with the physicality part of it in the beginning. They didn't shy away from it, but you could tell they were rusty trying to get guys on the ground. Dorian showed that, I thought, a little bit today early on, and so did Terrell Bernard. Both those linebackers and the linebackers and DBs for the Arizona Cardinals did as well. That's one of those phenomena we kind of forget about. I mean, these guys used to get out of bed in 2-a-days in training camp tackling people live, going to the bathroom. Now it's months between tackles for these guys, and it takes some acclimation, and I think we see it in these early games.
One other element to this defense that we saw a lot last year was the use of a dime package. This defense usually plays in nickel most of the time, 5 defensive backs on the field. They went into dime a lot in this game, 6 DBs on the field. The guy who checked in was Jamarcus Ingram, who is an undrafted player who's worked his way into earning a spot on the 53-man roster, had a really great training camp and great preseason, somebody who a lot of people noticed out there with his physicality. He's put on a lot of weight since he's come to Buffalo in terms of muscle, and you can see that with the way that he has his way with people on offense. We saw that today against the Arizona Cardinals. Why do you think they used a guy like Jamarcus Ingram to sub in for dime?
I think Taron Johnson's absence changed things for them. I thought they wanted, I don't think they're, I don't know, but I think I got the idea that they had a little change of plan. Maybe they're going to run a little dime in this game, but when Cam Lewis had to go on the field for Taron Johnson, and I think they just felt like if they could bring extra people on Kyler, they wouldn't have those guys trying to hold up in the secondary as much, maybe. But I do think that was a little bit of a ripple effect with the Taron Johnson injury that happened, I think, midway through the second quarter.
Jamarcus Ingram had that big play it was 4th and 7 with 32 seconds left to go in the game. The Cardinals were on Buffalo's 29-yard line, and Kyler Murray dropped back to complete a pass to Greg Dortch. It was deep left toward the end zone, and Jamarcus Ingram was right there with Damar Hamlin to bat the pass away. So somebody who, when your number is called, you're playing in the sub package on defense, and you're able to effectively make some plays. Damar Hamlin, another person who stepped up and started today for the Bills. So It's tough when this defense is entering into the season a little bit injured. You see guys come off the field, and Taron Johnson and Cam Lewis starts in his place, and you have to make it work, and it's the next man up mentality.
Yeah, they were so injured during the regular season or during the preseason. They didn't really know how healthy they were going to be until about 6 or 8 days ago, a week before the game, and then they could start getting some reps with that crew. Even then, they weren't getting full reps because nobody, was practicing. They were still getting healthy. We still haven't seen Cole Bishop. We still haven't seen Mike Edwards.
Nope.
All of those guys. So all of that stuff goes into this stew of this roster building. They come into this game. They were able to hold the Arizona Cardinals, even despite the turnover and the tough first half that they got. And with the penalties and that kind of thing, I was really impressed with this defense's second half performance of this game compared to their first half. It looked rough in the first 2 quarters of this football game. He gave up 17 points to Kyler Murray and this crew, and it looked like they realized that they had to make an enormous adjustment. They got it done at halftime. They came out, they got some pressure on Murray, ended up with 4 sacks, and that spells good things for the coming weeks when they can adjust that effectively during a game. Because this Arizona team, while I was talking to some of the guys from the Arizona Cardinals, they're really confident in their ability to move the ball this year on offense. They're really happy with their offense, and to have that kind of game against a team of that caliber says good things about this defense.
The Cardinals were a team last year, middle of the pack on offense. They did have one of the best rushing offenses in the league, thanks to James Conner. They're in their second year in this system with Jonathan Gannon, so you'd expect the offense to take a step forward, especially with Marvin Harrison Jr. as well. But the Cardinals start the game touchdown, field goal, touchdown in the first 3 drives, and then at the end of the game, their last 2 drives, they go punt and turnover on down. So you saw how the defense is settled into things and were able to take the ball away from the Cardinals so that the Bills could finish with the ball in their hands, knee it down for the win. Sean McDermott, our head coach, is on the podium. He is now 6-2 in home openers as Buffalo's head coach. Let's hear from Coach.
Okay, great to get a win. Praise God, man. Just all glory to him for his blessings in more than just football. And what an environment, like it always is here in Western New York and Orchard Park. Fans were incredible, not surprised. And I'm sure that our new players, that this was an experience for them like they've never had before. Great to get a win, hard-fought battle. Give Arizona credit. They came in here and had a good plan. And, we got down early in the game, and then we're fighting back from there. And I think that in and of itself is a great sign for our football team. Every week's like that, right? But to have that with a new team and for them to stick together and pull it out and really come together. The staff did a great job of making some adjustments, communicating with each other, and then we had some guys go down as well. So Taron went down early there. I think it was the first drive, in fact, and guys stepped in and stepped up. You finally with Jamarcus Ingram making that play. I mean, it's a great example of being ready, right, when your number's called. So the effort that the team put in, the effort that he put in to get himself ready to go was what it needs to be. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with your questions. Yeah, on all the injuries, I don't have enough information to say what it is yet, Sal, other than it is his forearm. That's all I know right now.
Cam said that he was preparing all week for that dime roll, had to shift. He goes and plays for Taron and Jamarcus. Can you just speak to the two of them, what they were able to accomplish, with you guys down a couple scores?
Yeah, I mean, Cam we knew Cam was in a pivotal role, playing the dime, starting dime, but also being the primary backup at more than one position, and then he had to go in right away first. You don't always expect it to be the first drive for to get to your backup there, but he plays like a starter. And again, credit to him for being prepared. And then we're mixing and matching. I thought the coaches did a good job. And there was a chance that Jamarcus was not even going to be up We lost Smoot later in the week, and so we, juggled some things around and moved some pieces around. And again, I thought the coaches and players, in fact, did a great job of just, remaining poised. I think it was Friday, I believe, when we were kind of going through it with Smoot's situation there. So a late week add with Jamarcus being up, and he did a phenomenal job.
Hey, Sean, until the fourth quarter there, when you came up with the two stops, third down defense was definitely a struggle.
Yep.
I mean, he extends plays, I get that. But is there anything else that was concerning to you on that front?
On the third downs? Oh, yeah. I mean, we weren't very good at all, and some of it was they were getting into third and manageable situations, and that goes back to winning first and second down. So I thought Bobby and the defensive staff did a great job at halftime, addressing it and then making some adjustments, and I think we came out better in the second half and played a little bit more our style defense, and we're a little bit more aggressive and just playing and just having some fun out there, as opposed to waiting and reacting to what they were doing.
Hey, Sean, Josh went airborne for his touchdown run. Even his teammates have said, we still don't like seeing that. Do you still get worried when he leaves his feet like that?
Always. I mean, I'm always trying to keep my eyes on him. We were talking to my locker room after, and someone was saying, hey, did you, Josh had this guy open on this play, and I'm like, I just keep my eyes on him most of the time just to make sure he's doing all right, and then making sure that he's not hit late or whatever. So it's hard to see the guys open down the field for me even, and making sure he's doing okay. So yeah, he's a competitor, and you never want anything to happen. There's a balance there, as always. Like we talk about that a lot. So
Sean, we've seen it before with Khalil Shakir, just the run after the catch and the ability to bounce off the guys. How tough is he?
Football player, man, right? Go have him run a 40. Like get him out of his street clothes right now. Have him run a 40. Right? Have him do a vertical jump. Right? Football player. Right? Football player.
What Greg Rousseau can you
Not that he's probably not a good vertical jumper. I don't.
Can you reflect on Greg?
On Greg? Yeah, big time day. Big time day. I love that he carried over to the game what he had shown in training camp and then the last couple weeks in practice. That's big. Like when you can take how you do things from practice and do it in the game, that's a mindset, right? And so that's also growth and maturation in and of itself.
How about Demar? How did you feel he fared in his first start out there?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, we got a lot of first-time guys out there playing today and, laying their guts on the line for the team, and I thought DeMar handled himself well. I really did.
What did you see out of the receiving corps as a group?
On our receiving corps?
Yes.
I mean, I think Keon was the most targeted. A lot of guys involved. I thought we did a better job in the second half of getting Dalton more involved there. But sometimes, we're trying to get him involved and they take him away. So I thought Josh was doing a good job of, moving the ball around and taking what the defense was giving him. That's huge, right, when you're doing that and willing to be patient against a split safety, primarily split safety defense. So, again, we've got a lot of room for improvement, right? We were beating ourselves in an undisciplined fashion and manner at times, penalties, pre-snap penalties in particular, and, just beating ourselves overall with some execution issues. So we can take a lot from this game.
Coach, have you had an opportunity to look at what happened on the kickoff return with the new rules? I know that's something that you've been working on.
Yeah.
But have you looked at a little bit of that play and what happened on that play?
On the return, the long return? Yeah, it's hard to see still, and they were going for two, and so we were more getting organized there. They obviously creased it there, and we'll look at it on tape. I'm walking back over here in a couple minutes when I'm done here, and going to take a look at it.
Sean, can you take us through the last sequence when you had the ball? What's going through your head, if you're debating going for that and, trying to keep the offense on the field, what was going through your mind?
What are all the analytics people saying out there, right? Yeah, I mean, that's a tough one. That's a loaded situation. Would love to put the game away, but just going for it right there wouldn't necessarily, if we got it, wouldn't necessarily put the game away, as they held 3 timeouts. And 4th and 2 was going to be, we were going for it on 4th and 2 or less. 4th and 3, and then it was a longer 3. And so I debated over going for it or not, and just felt like, you know what, I want to give our defense a chance to defend a touchdown here, and as it turned out, it worked. I mean, if you look at it where the last line of scrimmage was for them, it was in the 20, 25-yard line. They're probably kicking a field goal there, and we're going to overtime more than likely. Or, we're trying to save those timeouts to have a counterattack. So there's a lot that goes into that one. I'm glad it worked out, and but thought hard about it right there.
What's the with a close competitive game like this, right to the end, and then you got to turn things right around for Thursday night, just from your perspective, and how are you going about it with your staff and so on?
Yeah, so I'm about to meet the coordinators over there, like I said, when I'm done here, and I'm going to try and shower first. I'm sure they'd appreciate that, and then go back over there and set the vision for the week. And we've tried to work a little bit in the off season, knowing that this is going to be a challenge. But this will be a test overall for us, right? We've got some new players, new staff members, and we got to go on the road to a divisional opponent. So it'll be a big challenge for us.
Sean, I know you said you don't have injury specifics, but with Josh, he was getting his hand looked at there, and it is a short week. Generally speaking, is there some concern there on your part, or maybe what could you tell us, if anything, on that?
Yeah, Jay, always concerned, right? Anytime anybody's hurt, in this case, for sure, Josh. So I'll know more again, hopefully in the next couple of hours, and maybe even when I walk back, through the hallway here. So always concerned for sure.
Said the other day, you expect to learn things every week about this team just because of the turnover. What'd you learn about your team today?
Well, you go through it, and the NFL is hard, right? It's hard to win. You almost got to take the logos off the helmets because it really doesn't matter, right? Who you play, where you play. It's how you play, how we play, and I think this team was tested early here, right? Tested early from injuries, early in the game. I'm talking about, and then in the fourth quarter, and that's where games are decided in this league, in our league, and it starts with leadership in the locker room with the players that we have, and they got to lead from the front, and that's true this week as well, right? On a short week, some guys banged up, and we'll be led by our leadership group.
How about Von Miller? He broke through with a sack today. Just what does that mean to your team? We know how much the players look up to him and his leadership, and to have the productivity go with that leadership, how much does that mean?
Yeah, that's important, right? Being able to produce like that, and it just compounds one's leadership influence, really. So not that he wasn't influential before, but I'm sure for him, too, it felt good. He was smiling after it and everything. So, listen, it's been a long journey, and he's worked hard, and I don't care who you are, future Hall of Famer or what. That's a grind, and to be able to come back and do what he did today at a pivotal moment in particular was huge.
Sean, at the end of the game, when they had the ball 3rd and 9, they run the ball against the soft box there, right? I mean, how big of a stop was that? Can you kind of walk us through that play, that sequence right there?
Yeah, no, it was huge, and they were holding, I think, going into the drive 3 timeouts, right? And then I think maybe they were down to 2 there, but they still had control of the clock, and so I'm assuming that's why they did what they did, and we did a great job. I don't even know who it was, 1 or 2 guys up front getting off of a block and making a big-time play. We were outnumbered a little bit there, too, and that was a huge play setting up the 4th and long. If it's first down there, it's a new game. It's a different situation. But having them 4th and long, and then I thought Bobby did a great job being aggressive there, and again, Jamarcus Ingram. Again, our guys, man, it's the first game. There's so many unknowns the first week of the season every year, and to be tested like that and to come through, it's a step. It's a small step, but it's a step, and I appreciate how gutsy they were in that situation.
When you have Josh Allen, the easy thing from the outside looking in is just to be aggressive at all times. But late in the first half, when you guys kind of ran the ball and let it go down to the 2-minute warning, was it just about not getting the ball back to them, and you ended up scoring the touchdown? But what went into the thinking of the approach of that drive?
Well, I believe at that time, Matt, we had 3. I think we held 3 timeouts, right? So we let it go down to the 2-minute. Every situation is a little bit different, but end of half, you're making sure, number one, that you don't give them the ball. They had the win there, give them the ball and a chance to score before half. So we wanted to control the game at that point. And so we took it down. We have 3 timeouts. We're extremely comfortable. Our guys are, at least, because we practice it quite a bit. And we weren't, you were not even in 2-minute mode at that point. So felt good. I thought the guys up in the booth did a great job of saying, now we're good, we'll take it down. And but you're also thinking about a counterattack there too, making sure that you're being smart with the clock and how you're managing the game there. All right, thank you guys.
All right, that was Bills head coach Sean McDermott. A couple guys to monitor this week. That's Josh Allen with that left hand wrist that we saw he had taped up, and Taron Johnson with that forearm injury. He was labeled as questionable first and then later downgraded to out. So we will monitor those two as we go into a short week, because the Bills will be heading to Miami on Wednesday to play the Miami Dolphins for a Thursday night football game. They're only of the season. So on a short week, you can only do so much. But what is at the top of your list of things to correct as they head into a big game against a division opponent?
First of all, you got to recover as best you can from the injuries. Whether Taron gets back on the field and whether Josh can go, and how his hand feels 72 hours after getting it hurt is a big question. I don't think there's going to be an issue with him playing, but ball security is always an issue when you've got, even if it's your offhand, not throwing hand. Other than that, I think they've got some. There's no question they came out with the inactives they came out with today. I wouldn't be surprised if you'd have some surprise activations. Maybe you're getting Cole Bishop and Mike Edwards up to speed. Maybe they're feeling like they can get back in athletically. That would be one thing, and I think they are. If Taron Johnson goes down for another 2 or 3 weeks, or however long it is, that's going to force their hand with the roster in the secondary, no question about it.
Kudos to Cam Lewis, who went into this game thinking, I am the dime guy. I'm going to go in as the sixth
Right.
DB. Taron Johnson gets hurt on the first drive of the game, and he gets pulled to play in that nickel role for the rest of the game. That is one smart player. He plays all over the back end of the defense, and to be able to flip the switch like that, go in and play at a high level says a lot about that guy who's a University of Buffalo product, along with Jamarcus Ingram.
It's an outstanding job. It's a testament to his intelligence and his ability to stay disciplined and resilient. You've got to be a smart dude to be back there backing up 4 different guys, being the sole backup to the best nickel corner in the league, and then being a backup safety, and then moving into that role, and then adjusting to where you thought in any dime package you were going to be the dime guy. You're not the dime guy. You're the nickel guy with another dime guy coming in, playing the spot you practiced all week.
My head is spinning as you're saying this.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. And they did an outstanding job. And that's probably one of the best parts about this game, was seeing guys rise up. A guy like Cam Lewis doing as well as he did in the circumstances that were handed to him.
The Bills finish week 1 with a victory. 34-28 is your final score. Josh Allen with an awesome game. 78% completion percentage, 232 passing yards, and 4 total touchdowns. What can't this guy do? We'll see. Week 2 is going to be here before we know it. So we're going to say goodnight for Steve Tasker. I'm Maddy Glab. We will see you guys next week after the Dolphins game.